All right, so welcome back, guys. So here we're going to be finishing up our chapter 5 review. So we just finished looking at LIFO. Okay, we got to look at LIFO, we got to look at FIFO. Now we're moving on to question number 9, 10, and 11, and 12, which is going to be revolving around weighted average. So once again, here we go. Question number 9 says your inventory method is periodic weighted average. Assume that all purchases were made on an account, round to the nearest penny. Now, rounding to the nearest penny is going to be super, super important, especially when you're dealing with weighted average, because the one thing is that you're going to take all the costs, so every single one of them, and you're going to divide it by the entire quantity. Now, what I mean by this is we've looked at it this last week, so let's go ahead and dive right into the scenario. Okay, so here we go. October 5th, we purchased 800 toys at $1 each with a freight of $45. So let's go question number 9. All right. Once again, we're not going to practice journalizing because it's going to be, once again, rinse and repeat. We're only focusing on just the conversion entry at the very end, okay? But for now, let's go ahead and enter everything into our inventory worksheet. So again, October 5th, purchase 800 items, $1 each, with a freight of $45. So October 5th, we purchased 800 units at $1 each with a freight of $45. So I'm going to format my cells here. Okay. So let's go ahead. What is my purchase price going to be?
$800.
It's going to be $800, right? It's going to be your quantity times your unit price to give you $800. All right. What about my total cost?
$845.
Okay, so 800. So you take your purchase price plus your freight to give you 845. And then because we only have one and one only, and we're assuming that this is the only batch that we have, what is my cost per item?
1.056250.
Okay, so we're going to take our total of 845 and divide it by my quantity of 800. So here we are. It is, excuse me, it is now $1.08. Okay. Now, how we're going to see this is we are not going to care about what batches came first and what batches came last. All we care is getting a grand total of our batches and getting a grand total of our total cost. So for now, let's just go through the problem and then we'll ask questions afterwards, okay? In regards to understanding why this one's so different, okay? So here it is actually going to be more than that. So it's 1.5625, okay? So good, all right? So what has happened next?
Returned 50 broken toys.
We returned 50 broken toys for a full refund. So once again, I'm going to go down to my little section down here. I returned 50 broken toys for a full refund. At what unit price am I going to refund these items at?
$1.
$1. So therefore, what is my total that I'm going to get a refund for?
$50.
$50. So we just multiply right across. 50 times $1 gives you $50. Okay? Now, what we practiced in the previous section is we would carry it down into our inventory. Right now, we don't care about what our inventory is because at the end of the day, we will calculate what it is at the very end. So once again, I'm not going to take the time to stop and add it into my inventory. I'm just going to go ahead and complete my worksheet and then plug in all my numbers at the end. Okay? So now that I have that, right, we don't care about our batches. So let's go ahead and see what happened to the very next section here. What happened on October 10?
We bought 550 for $1.25 a piece, and shipping costs of $30.
So 5,550, 125. Okay, so once again, it's now October 10. We have 5,550 at $1.25 with a freight costing you $30. So what's my total purchase price here?
687.50.
Good. And my total cost?
717.50.
$717.50. And lastly, do I need to solve for my cost per item?
I did.
Okay.
It's 1.304545.
Okay, for practice purposes only, we can go ahead and calculate it. But at the end of the day, do we care about this?
No.
For a weighted average, no, because it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's going to change. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and do it for practice purposes only. Okay, so then what has happened next?
You purchased 1,050 toys at $1.50 each with a freight cost of 50.
Okay, so here we made another purchase, so no returns or nothing affected that batch that we bought on October 10. So here on October 15, we purchased new inventory. Okay, so 50, 50, 50. So here it's October 15, 10.50 at $1.50 with a freight of, oop, one up. There you go, 50. Okay. So what is my total purchase price here?
1575.
$15.75. Good. And then plus $50 is going to get me $16.25. Excellent. So again, practice purposes only. What's my cost per item? $1.54. Yada yada yada. Okay. So then, what happened next on the 18th of October?
You returned 150.
Okay, why? Because it was the wrong model. So you bought toys and they gave you the wrong model. And since the vendor decided to convince you to keep it, they offered you a 25% discount because it was the completely wrong toy, right? It was the wrong model. I didn't want this model. I wanted that model. Okay, but they said, you know what? You can still sell that model. I'll just give you a 25% discount off of it. So I agree and I accept it. So now, what am I going to do?
You're good to your returns, allowances, and discounts.
Perfect.
Now your quantity will be zero because you didn't actually return them.
Correct.
Your unit price will be $1.50.
Good.
And then what you'll do is you will do equal parenthesis 150
Good.
times 1.5
Good.
parenthesis times 0.2.
Oh, 2.5. It's 25%.
Oh, 2.5. 2.5.
Okay, so yeah. So we need to figure out how much was the quantity that we're actually supposed to be refunding for, right? So for only the 150 units, because the rest of the units were completely fine. They were correct. They sent us the right ones. This time, so we're looking at 150 of those toys. At how much is that whole entire amount for that? It's going to be $150 because it's times $1.50. So sorry, excuse me, whatever that number is. And then we're going to take 25% of that. And that's exactly what this formula is. We're going to take 150 times the 150, all right? And we're going to times it by 25% to get a grand total of,
$45.
say that again? Okay, let's try that again. So 150 times 150 should give you 225. right? 225 times 25%. Okay. Anybody else got something different? Maybe did you multiply by 20% not instead of 25?
I'm not sure what I did.
So let's, yes, you multiply by 20%. It's 25%. All right, so yes,
Okay,
it
I got it
says,
right.
yeah, 25%. Okay, because they sent us the wrong one. Instead of a different color, this is a completely different toy. So they sent us 25% instead. Okay, so it should be for the 56.25. Okay. Oh, I forgot to use colors. I'm sorry. So this this section we can call this. What color do you want to make this?
That way,
You know what I
light
was
green.
what I was actually doing is like say for October 5 quantity, I have a very light yellow, and down in my returns under the 50, I have a very light yellow to compare those two. Like that's how I've been color coding them that way because when you like if you color code the whole top area one color, like I'm using a
Okay.
reference from a quantity. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. You ref. So each batch that you make a purchase of is one color.
Yeah, because that way then you can reference each one, like when you go to quantity unit total under RA and D.
Yes. All right. So again, I will just color everything. I mean, I'll go ahead and go through with what you said. So I'll color each batch a different color. So there's that one. This one, I guess I'll make it yellow. I'll make this one yellow. And then I'll make this one green. Okay. Now, just remember this, okay? In this case, you don't need to use colors. All right. And you'll see why once we get to the very end. Okay. So I'll make this one green. All right, and then of course we made a return for that green batch right there. So at least we have a reference here that these two belong to each other. Okay? Excellent. So then I have a return for $56.25. So let's just go ahead and continue on forth. So what's the next scenario?
300 toys at 175 and $15 for delivery.
Okay, so we actually end up buying another batch on October 20th. So we have 300 toys at $1.75 with the freight costing you $15. So October 20th, 300 toys at $1.75 with a freight of $15. So what is going to be my purchase price here?
525.
Sorry, I just realized. Okay, so what do you say? 525, good. Plus 15,
540.
540. Okay. And then what is my cost per item for practice purposes? $1.80. Okay. Good. Right. So then,
You return 50 defective toys for a full refund.
so we've returned 50 of those items. So once again, I'm going to go back to my inventory worksheet. We're going to go ahead and go down to the bottom right here. And in this case, we returned 50 at what unit price? 175, which is going to give me a total cost of
50.
87.50. So this is how much money we're going to get back. And again, this is associated with the blue batch, right? Okay. So then what has happened here?
You have 1,200.
You have 1,200 toys left on hand. Okay. So once again, question number 9, I'm just going to go ahead and place that information right there. So ending balance should be 1,200. Okay. So let's go ahead and tally up our totals here since we reached the end of the given period. So in this case, what is my total sum of quantity that I originally purchased?
700.
2,700, okay? And then at what total purchase price?
35.87 and 50 cents.
Perfect. And then what's my total freight? 140, giving me a grand total cost of
Where are we at total cost?
total cost, yes.
Total cost was at 36.97 and 50 cents.
Hold on. 36, I got
37.27.56 I had.
Okay, so it's a simple way to do this is you could take your 358,750 plus your 140 instead of actually adding up all these 4 numbers. That's one way that you can look at it too. Oh, no, I wanted dollar. No. Okay. So 37.2750 should be your answer here.
Oh, yeah, I messed up the equation.
Okay. I'll give you a second to fix it.
I am very glad how you stressed about using cells, like using cell references.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 different mistakes I made while we're going over this, and when I correct the mistake, because I reference all my cells, it corrects all my math and brings everything right to where it should be.
Absolutely correct. And that's the great thing.
I wanted to say this because it happened twice. Like just now, when I was looking at the purchase price, I had a different number. Well, I put 145 instead of 175 for 20 October. As soon as I change it, the top changes, the bottom changes, everything just goes right back to where it should be. And it's like, I love this.
Yes, exactly. And that's why I encourage you guys to use cell references because you don't want to have to go through every single one to correct every single cell because you typed everything in. Especially if you fix something there, it's going to be 10 times harder to locate where the rest of the mistakes are. So if you cell reference it, it will automatically grab whatever numbers that were supposed to be there. So if you have a formula, right, you could type in any number in there, no matter how you want to change it, it will continue like producing another type of answer. So for example, if I added, let's say I added 200 to 500 items in here, boom, it changed that. And then whatever cells that I have that referenced in is also going to change as well. Okay, but in this case, I don't have that one, so we'll just keep it as is. So yes, it's I do recommend you do use the cell references for the purposes of when you do make an error. It's so easy to fix it, and instead of having going through every single cell once again to correct your mistakes, it's also hard to find where you made the mistake. So yes. So it makes it easier to do a quick fix. So here we are. We are down here, and we have our total ending balances here. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Our total balances in our quantities, purchase price, and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and compute this section down here, right? Let's do this first, and then I'll go ahead and we'll talk about how to solve for the actual weighted average. Okay, so in this case, how much quantity did I originally purchase this?
2,700.
And then how much was my total purchase price?
3587.50.
3587.50. Okay, now I forgot to do this. What is my total returns and allowances? So I'm just going to equal sum right here so I can see it. How many items did I return?
100.
You returned a total of 100. At what total was my refund for?
193.75.
Okay, once again, I just dragged my equal sum formula across my cells so that I picked up this one as too. So if I were to click on it, it's gonna calculate the equal sum of this exact column. So there you go. Oh, I messed up there. So equal. There you go. So I have 193.75. So I'm gonna plug in my numbers here once again. Okay, if I need to use light colors, maybe I shall use light colors. So here, for example, I'm going to highlight this whole thing. So then in this case, I will utilize Nicole's way if this helps you. So I'm going to use like a light color like this. So this color is going to be down here. Okay, and it's also going to be my freight. Okay, and then my returns and allowances, I'm probably going to use maybe like some pink color. Okay, and that one's going to be right here. Okay, so my returns and allowances is going to be for the 100 items at 193.75. So what is going to be my subtotal here?
2,633.93.75.
Okay, we're going to subtract them because we no longer have them. We returned them. So yes, there you go, 3393.75. All right. Once again, my freight, where did it come from? Right here. So of course it doesn't increase in quantity, but it does increase in your total cost of 140. So therefore, my net purchases is going to give me
$3,533.75.
okay, and then here I'm also going to maybe I'll make my net purchases like this light green right here. Okay. So there you go. That's my net purchases. So once again, do I have beginning inventory? In this scenario, I do not. That's going to be my, assumption. I don't have any beginning inventory, right? I solved for my net purchases from right above. So this green, this is going to be green right here because this is what I solved from above. I'm bringing it right directly down here. So I'm going to pick up that number, cell referencing it, okay? And then now I'm going to add it to my formula, okay? I'm going to say that we have to add our beginning plus our net purchases to get our goods available. And in this case, I'm adding 0 to these numbers. All right, and I'm just going to get the same exact numbers. Now they're not technically where I've calculated from before. This is just because I'm adding my beginning inventory as well. And in this context, I don't have beginning inventory, so that's why my net purchases is going to equal my goods availables because I don't have any beginning balances. Okay, so we're good there. So now we've reached the end, and now we need to calculate our total amounts here. Now, for this concept, when we understand what weighted average is, this is all you have to do. Let's come over here right here. Let's go ahead and enter in because we're going to solve for the new average cost per item. So the new average cost per item is going to be your total goods available cost. So this 3,555.75, and you're going to divide it by the total amount of quantity that you have available, which in this case is your, I cell referenced the wrong number. Okay, so the 3,533.75 divided by my total quantity of goods available, which is right here, to get me a new average cost per item to be this right here. All right, it's going to be $1.35913. Now in this case, by the total quantity that's available. Okay. All right. Well, let's go through this first real quick, and then let me see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so here. Actually, no. Let's skip one. Okay, so I'll put it here. So I took my goods available total cost, and I'm going to divide it by my total quantity of available to get me my cost per item. Okay? In this case, let's go ahead and take a step back and fill in this little worksheet like how we've been doing it before, right? We carry our inventory in just exactly how we've done before. So in this case, I'm going to copy down my red one for the, 800 minus my 50 to give me 700, right? Which should give me a total cost minus my $50. Okay, and that's my red batch here. So I guess I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to fill in the Is This Inventory worksheet so then you can see it exactly how I think that you guys are maybe confused. So I'm going to do it this way so then you guys can see what I'm doing. So then the next batch is the yellow batch. Nothing happened there. We have the green batch minus nothing. And then we have the blue batch minus 50. Right? And then we have the yellow batch. Then we have the green batch minus this. And then we have the blue batch minus this. Okay, if you already did this part right here, and this is where you guys are trying to figure out how to calculate the average cost per item. So let me add the colors in. So yellow, this is green, green, and then this is blue, right? So remember, this is us cross-referencing, right? Go ahead and add up your total quantity. Go ahead, add up your total quantity. How many goods available of quantity do you have?
2,600.
So here, if I were to just grab this right here, it should say I have 2,600, right? What about my total cost?
But do you think you could wait a second? Because I was trying to color coordinate it and I didn't get the quantity and the cost for that middle section.
Okay.
And then the 1050, oh, because we didn't take away any of the quantity, huh?
No, we didn't. We only took a 25% discount.
Same.
Yes. Right? I'm
minus. That's why I was getting lost because I forgot to minus
the discount. Mm-hmm. No worries. Just because like I think when I was trying to calculate it before. You guys are kind of, I don't know if you guys know where these numbers are coming from. So I'm showing you another way to get the number while utilizing the concept that we just integrated.
On your total cost, on the 750 quantity, you have a total cost of 795.
795, yes.
Did you just take the 750 times a dollar?
No, I took my total cost, which was 845, and I subtracted out the $50.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The cost, you just took that from up on top,
Which cost?
right there.
This one? No, this one's a calculated one. This is I needed to be able to build this table so then you guys can see where these numbers are coming from, because when I did it right here from using just those two numbers down here below on the cost of good available, you guys were like, what? Okay, so this is what I'm trying to do here. Now that I have my total quantity of 2,600, right, which is my total goods available, right,
Right.
plus my and I have my total cost of the 3,533.75, right, which is my total goods available, right. In this concept, we do not care what batch came first, what batch came last, because at the end of the day, we're just gonna add them all up together, and we're going to find a new average cost per item. We're gonna take the total cost, the new one, right, of the $3,533.75, and we're gonna take it and divide it across every single item we purchased. So in this case, we have 2,600 available. That is the average cost. Okay? We don't care how much the freight was. We don't care how much the purchase that we originally purchased it from, because at this point, it's like what? Like for example, right? We buy water bottles from the grocery store. You're not going to charge a high price because it says it's a high price. You're not going to charge a low price because it says it's a low price. You're going to charge it at exactly the same throughout the whole week, right? It's going to stay the same the whole week, except of course you have sales. But other than that, it should cost you the same amount, because water is a natural resource. It's constantly going to be purchased. It's constantly going to be sold. So at this point, you don't care how much it's going to cost you, whether you purchase it at a high point or a low point. If you purchase it at $1.50, or you purchase it at $1.25, at the end of the day, you're gonna add everything up together, and you're gonna spread the cost evenly throughout the entire quantity that you have to divide the cost evenly. So that means each item that I sell here, right? If I take my 3,533.75 and I divide it by my entire 2,600 items, that means every item that I sell should cost me on average $1.359135. So that's exactly why I was really hoping we wouldn't need to use colors, because at this point, do we care what came first?
Nope.
Do we care what came last?
Nope.
No. All we care about is what our totals were at the end of the day. So in this case, showing you where I got these numbers from, that's what I did here. So I took what we originally purchased, right, plus our returns, and now I am placing it into my inventory because this is what I have available, right? But in this case, I'm combining them. I don't care what came first. I don't care what came last. I'm combining them all together to get a grand total of 2,600 items available, costing me at a total of $3,533.75. And I'm going to divide them by each other to get me an average cost per item. So in this case, if I sold, which rate we haven't even solved for, If I had 2,600 and I have 1,200 left, how many items did I sell?
1,400.
You sold 1,400. This is the easiest one because we don't care about what came first, we don't care what came last. You're just going to take your 1,400 and you're going to multiply by the average cost per item to get your new total cost. So in this case, because it is not a friendly number, we're going to equal round it, take the 1,400, multiply it by my new average cost per item of $1.359135, comma, 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 2, because we want 2 decimal places. We want to round to the nearest penny. And what should we get here?
1902 and 79 cents.
1902.79. And if I wanted to, I can color this so then I know that this is my ending balance. Okay, so I'll make this one gray. And I'll make this one gray because this is my ending balance. And here, I just take this number because I don't care what came first. I don't care what came last. I don't care to keep track of them. All I care is just getting a total at the end of the day. What's my total goods available? What's my total cost of goods available? And there you go. Boom. I find my average cost per item, and I'm gonna just simply take my 1,400, multiply by my average cost per item to get me a total of 1902.79. Straightforward with how to solve for ending inventory, right? We take our goods available, subtract out our cost of goods sold to get an ending balance of the 1630.96. Easy enough?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So once again, we don't care what came first. We don't care how many returns we made because at the end of the day, we're going to subtract it out in grand total. All we care about is what our total goods available in quantity is and our total goods available in the cost of it, the total cost of it. That's all the information we need. So with that being said, therefore, I don't need to use any colors at all because I don't care about my red batch. I don't care about my yellow batch. I don't care about my blue batch. Okay, so here's the first one with color coding. All right, and I made obviously the color codes to link exactly where things go. But now for the next section, right, we'll do the next problem without colors because you don't need it. You really don't need it. So let's go ahead and since we finished our worksheet, let's complete our journal entry. So, what am I going to be doing here? What am I going to journalize? It is October 31st. Bless you.
Toys.
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 Good. Excellent. Toys. What else am I going to be recognizing?
Cost of goods sold.
Cost of goods sold. What else?
Purchase returns and allowances.
Purchase returns and allowances. Good. What else?
And then you have to indent and put purchase expense
Good. Purchase expense
and then freight expense.
and then freight expense. Okay, so let's start off with the first one. What was our ending balance in our worksheet?
So by
We're
choice,
doing
you
the
mean
inventory, right?
Ending inventory, yes.
you,
Sixteen thirty
oh,
96.
quick question: will we note it as toys or toys inventory?
If you have it in your chart of accounts as inventory dash toys, you're going to write it exactly how it's in your chart of accounts. But in this case, we already know we can make an educated guess, right? Or because we know exactly what we bought. We bought toys, and we know it's an inventory item. So if for any reason that you're given a chart of accounts and it does not say inventory and it just says strictly toys, you're going to have to write toys. Okay? But for practice purposes only, if it helps you to remember what this is, then go ahead and write inventory dash toys. Okay? Because it's correct, because you are placing it into inventory, but because we are transferring it from a purchase expense, our inventory can hold more than just toys. Okay? So what's my ending inventory once again?
1630.96.
1630.96. What was my total cost of goods sold?
Goods sold was the 1902.79.
Perfect. What was my total returns and allowances? Oop.
193.75.
193.75. All right. What was my total purchase price?
35.87.50.
35.87.50. And lastly, what was my total freight?
140.
140. All right. Once again, to verify,
And are we missing our inventory at the end of the month as well?
we already did the inventory at the end of the month. Okay. If you're referring to the very last section, that's inventory that we started with. Did we have beginning inventory?
No.
Not in this scenario, but the next scenario we will. Okay. So here I'm going to add up my totals. And I get $3,727.50 on my left. And I have $3,727.50 on my right. Okay. So once again, when we're looking at the inventory worksheet, now of course I made a lot of colors. Is everyone okay with weighted average?
Yes.
Okay. Alan's okay with this. Who else is okay?
I'm okay with it.
Melinda's okay.
For me, it's been a lot easier to follow along, so yes, I enjoy it.
Okay. All right, Nicole?
The conversion entry, we only do the ending the ending inventory, right?
Always ending inventory, yes, unless you have beginning inventory. Now, again, in this kind of concept,
Conversion though.
this is the conversion. Correct. Your ending inventory will always go first because we're acknowledging that we have inventory. Inventory is an asset, right? So we are increasing our assets by recognizing that we actually still have inventory left, right? But we also have to
Beginning, because we put it on there as well.
know, because did we have beginning inventory?
No.
No. In this scenario, we didn't.
If we did.
If we did, then yes, the next question we will include beginning inventory, yes.
Okay, I think I was getting lost because I wasn't comprehending why we were putting in all the journal entries, but that's not for the conversion entry.
What do you mean by that? Like what we did in question number 1, where we
Why
started.
weren't journalizing all the transactions.
No, because it's going to be rinse and repeat. It's going to be the same exact thing over and over again, right? You're going to recognize purchase expense, freight expense for whatever. Then you're going to have a returns and allowances. Then you're going to have another purchase. So this already, we will practice it on the following when you guys come back, because we're going to exercise journalizing chapter 5 and chapter 6. Okay? So we're going to utilize what happens in a real life scenario when you're in charge of sales. Okay? So you're going to be journalizing what you've purchased, journalizing what you sold, journalizing any returns and allowances if you purchase and you found things that are wrong. We're also going to take a look at what happens when a customer returns their item. So we're going to practice journalizing this over and over again. Now, for practice purposes, if you would like, go ahead and practice this, right? I will post the answers once we complete this exact worksheet. So if you want to take it upon yourself to practice over the break, practice how we're journalizing this. Practice that we're going to make a purchase expense and a freight expense, right? Practice that we're going to create a contra account for the purchase returns and allowances. But for this one, it is required at the end of completing the inventory worksheet, you must do your adjustment entry, or else it's going to still reflect that you don't have any inventory in your whatchamacallit, in your books. It says that you still have purchase expense, but once we reach the end of the period, what happens to that expense? They get closed out at the end of the period. So therefore, you might have to take a loss because you didn't recognize what happened to all of those inventory items. Okay, because once you've closed it out, you can't place it back in again. You can't undo it. Okay, so once again, that's a little more advanced learning of accounting. But all I need you to recognize that when we dive into the fictitious business, this is one of the steps that we need to do when we have periodic inventory. We must complete a conversion entry because, yes, we made purchases of inventory, but we don't recognize it right away. It's going to be considered as an expense. However, our expenses close out at the end of the given period. So if we don't do that conversion entry, we're going to lose whatever that we had originally in inventory. And then what's going to happen there is you're going to you may be recording all your sales, but where is the cost that it takes to do the business? That's where you're going to have a huge hole in your books. Okay? Once again, that's a little more complicated to understand. But for now, we're only practicing just the conversion entry because the, journalizing the purchases and the returns, it's rinse and repeat. You're going to be doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I'd rather us focus on trying to nail down the conversion entry because we will get to practice journalizing all of this once again in chapter 6, as well as the chapter 5 and 6 review, as well as for the study guide, because you guys will be tested on journalizing a purchase. Okay, so we have plenty of time to review and practice this over and over again. So now that we're here, we finish our journal entry. So again, once again, we don't have beginning inventory, so there's no purpose for us to have to place it on here. You can place it on here, but what would that do for you if you have a 0 account balance in there? It's just kind of an extra waste of space. Okay? When the transaction at hand, you didn't have any beginning inventory, so what's the point to record it? Okay? So let's go ahead and look at the next scenario. So are you okay? Is everyone okay with doing the weighted average?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm good.
Okay. So once again, I want to do the worksheet with no colors because there's no purpose to use them. All right. So let's look at here, question number 11. Okay, we're going to continue on the inventory from question number 9. Your inventory method is still periodic and it's still weighted average. Round to the nearest penny. So here we're given that on October 31st, you should have a total of 1200 toys on hand. Okay, so yes, we do, right? We calculated it from our previous section over here, right? We know that we have 1200 items, and we know it costs us a total of the 1690.96. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry this information over onto my new inventory worksheet for question 11. So right here, inventory on hand. So this is what we actually have on an inventory. We have a total of 1200 units, right? And we are given that the total of it is going to be,
1630.96.
okay, yes,
And you
16.
said we could cell reference from one workbook to the other workbook, correct?
Yes, but just make sure, okay, but in this case, I'm self-referencing in the same workbook. You want to be careful on terminology. This is one workbook, two different sheets. So yes, you can self-reference between
Yes,
two
but
different
I meant
sheets.
the worksheet. So I could get the
Yes,
1200 from question 9 so I
yes,
can know what number I'm taking, right?
correct. 100% correct. And yes, you can sell references from two different workbooks. You just have to make sure that you keep the two files together in one folder and don't move them around. Okay. So here, I just cell reference it directly from my sheets.
We don't need the cost per item.
In this case, we already know what the cost per item is, and it's going to change anyway because we're going to make purchases of inventory. So, is it needless to say we should have our cost per item there? Does it matter at this point? No, because it's going to change. But we do know that at least for the beginning inventory, right? We know that we have 1200 items available, and we know that the total cost of that is going to be my 1630. All right. If you want to highlight this another color so you can cell reference it later on down here, go ahead and do so. Okay. All right. So at least I have my beginning inventory. It's right there. Okay. Okay, it's right there. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at the scenario here. So then on November 5th, what happened here?
You purchased 600 toys at $1.65 each.
Yes, we purchased 600 toys at $1.65 each, with the freight costing you 25. So 600 at 165, 25. I forgot the numbers already. We're on November 5th.
$1.65.
We bought
for
600
toys.
at $1.60, and freight of 25. Okay, so what is going to be my total purchase price?
990, and then total cost is 1015 with cost per item is 169.666667.
Okay. In this case, does it matter if we calculate the cost per item?
No, because we're rounding.
No. Well, no, because we have beginning inventory.
Oh, it's true too as well.
So at the end of the day, this is just an extra, it's just extra work for you guys. Okay. All right. So then what happened next on November 7th?
Returned 100 for a full refund.
Perfect. We returned 100 toys for a full refund. So Q11, we returned 100 toys. At what unit price did we return this at?
165.
165, giving me a grand total refund of
165.
165. So once again, you can choose to enter it in here, but at the end of the day, does it matter? No, because we're going to calculate our goods available later on. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay. So what happened on November 10?
Purchase 700 toys at $1.80.
7 at $1.80 with a freight of 40. $700.80. Okay. And we are on November 10. 700 at $1.80. Freight costing you $40. Oh, one more. Freight
Is there any
costing.
particular reason why you don't use dollar signs?
I just don't. I just for me visually, I don't like it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you prefer it, by all means, because I don't know. I just don't like seeing those squiggle lines in every single cell. Okay. What was my freight again? 40?
Yeah.
But if it helps you, then by all means, go ahead and do it. You can either use accounting or you can use currency.
It
Yeah.
does. It confuses me a little bit.
Okay. All right. So, what
After
is my total purchase price here?
12.60.
$12.60. Okay.
Freight is 1,300.
Plus freight
It's $40.
of $40 equals 1,300. Good. Okay. So then what happened next on November 20th?
Purchase 500 for $1.85.
We purchased another 500 at $1.85. 500.
Freight of
500 at 185. 500 at 185. 1120. 500 at 185 with a freight of 25. Okay. So then what is going to be my total purchase price here?
9.25.
925 plus your total freight.
9.50.
All right. Once again, don't need to solve for the average cost per item yet. Okay. So then let's go see what happened next on November 21st.
Return 50 toys for the wrong color and accepted 20% discount.
Okay, so 50 toys, 20%. Okay. So question 11, we're going to go down to the bottom. We did not return anything, but we know what's the unit price that we're going to be refunding these items at?
185.
185. So once again, formula here is going to be 50 toys at 185, comma, 2. Wait, shoot.
Quotation.
Yep,
Yeah.
there you go. There you go.
Times
3 times 0.2.
Sorry, I
Is it 20 or 25?
it's
20.
20%. Yes. Sorry, I was thinking we were doing equal round. All right, so there we go. 50 times $1.85, which is cell number I-18. Okay, multiplied by 0.2% gives us a total of a refund of
1850.
$18.50. Okay, once again, we don't really care because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to us. It won't affect us at all. Okay. Last but not least, or I guess second to last, what happened on November 25th?
100 toys at $1.75.
We purchased 100 toys at $1.75. So November 25th, 100 toys at 125 with a freight of 5s. Oh, sorry, 175. So what is my total purchase price here?
75.
Okay, plus $5, 180. All right, we don't need to solve for a cost per item. Okay, so again, let's take a look here. What happened on November 30th?
100 toys on hand.
We have a total of 600 toys on hand. So now that we're given this, it's the end of the month. It's November 30th, and we have an ending balance of 600 units. So what does that tell us? We need to total up our columns. So here, what is my total quantity that I originally purchased? We purchased 1,900 items, okay? At what purchase price? All right, what total? Yeah, there you go. Plus the freight, what's my total freight?
95.
All right, giving me a total cost of
34.45.
34.45. Okay, so good. I'm gonna close that out, and I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna format them. Okay. So now that I have that, right, now we're gonna go ahead and fill in this bottom half of the left bottom half. So what was my original quantity that I purchased?
1900.
1,900. At what total purchase price?
3350.
Okay. Now we got to total up our purchase returns and allowances. How many items did we return?
100.
Right? In this case, I only have 2, so I'm just going to add them up. I don't need to equal sum this because it's only 2 of them. So at what total is my refund?
18350.
183.50. So right here, we're going to cell reference it 100 with the 180.50. Okay. And now we need to calculate our subtotal because we purchased all these items and we were refunded for these items. So how much should be my subtotal be for the quantity?
1831.6650.
3166.50. Okay. I'm gonna give a couple seconds real quick.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Freight adds nothing to quantity. But how much is it going to be? Or sorry, what's my total freight? Okay, good. 95. All right. Let's add up our totals here to get our net purchases. All right, I fat fingered another number. Okay. That's the one thing I hate about Excel is that if you fat finger anything, it's going to keep giving you these error messages. So here, I'm going to do this and add them up. And what should be my total net purchases here?
32.61.
32.61, good. 50. All right. Now, next bottom half here. Did I have beginning inventory?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes, you did. You had the 1,600 from the 1,200 from the previous inventory worksheet, costing me a total of 1,630. Okay. Right? We're going to carry down our total net purchases, right, that we solved from right above, and carry them down. Oh, excuse me. I've been waiting for that for the longest time. All right. So what is my total goods available? excuse me. What's my
So
total
it'd be
goods
the
available?
1,200 plus the 1,800, right?
Yes, correct.
3,000.
3,000.
3,000. All right. And then what's my total goods available? Total cost.
30.
48.92.46.
48. Excuse me. 48. 92.46. So if you would like, you may do this here, right? Up here, I can say that, well, I have 3,000 items available. And it cost me, I'm so sorry. And it cost me a total of 4,892.46. What I can do here is, now that I have my goods available, right? I can go ahead and now calculate my average cost per item, which we know, right, is your total cost divided by your quantity. And which in this case, I'm going to take my 4,892.46 and I'm going to divide it by my 3,000 because I'm spreading my cost evenly throughout my entire quantity. I don't care what I purchased it at. I don't care how much my freight was at. All I care is taking the grand total and dividing it by my grand total quantity, which gives me a total of $1.63, yada yada yada, right? 820000. Okay. So that's my average cost per item. Okay. So now, if I have 600 available on hand, how many items did I sell?
2,400.
You sold 2,400, right? Pretty straightforward math. Okay? So here, I'm going to do another math equation, right? I'm going to take my 2,400 and I'm going to multiply it by this average cost per item. Okay, so I'm just self-referencing them and bring them down. Okay? So from here, what was that?
The 2,400 came from total cost of goods sold? Okay.
Yes.
Brought down the cost.
Then I just brought down the cost per item from right above here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and enter in our formula. We should equal round this because that right there is definitely not an even number to calculate. So I'm going to take my 2,400. I'm going to multiply it by my 1.63082. And I'm going to comma, because I want it to two decimal places. And then I'm going to press enter. So what is my total cost of goods sold?
39.13.97.
39.13.97 is correct. All right. And then of course we plug in our numbers here. Right? So this is another cell reference. I'm going to cell reference it from here because that's what I originally got it from. And then last but not least, what is going to be my ending inventory?
Can you give me 1 second?
Yep.
For the total cost, before when we did the equal round,
Uh-huh.
we did equal round parentheses.
Mm-hmm.
The
The 2,400, you can either type it in or you could cell reference it. I cell referenced.
times the cost.
Yes, times the cost.
Oh, comma 2.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you put that into total cost. Sorry.
No worries.
I'm really trying to get this cell referencing down so when I go back I could see like exactly where.
The numbers came from, exactly. And then the great thing about this is every time you let's say I click on this, right? If I double click it, it will highlight the cells that you are using it from.
Yeah. So then the ending balance would be the the goods available
Mm-hmm.
minus total, the cost of goods
Mm-hmm.
for 978.
Perfect. Perfect. That is correct. So here, once again, I didn't use any colors because there's no purpose to use the colors to indicate which inventory items came first. But if you want to use colors to associate where those numbers come from, you may do so. Okay, but in this case, we don't care about what we purchased. We don't care what price they came at. We don't care what freight we paid for. All we care about is how much did it cost us in total and how many items do we have in total. Find our average cost per item and solve from there. Because if we're getting rid of each item at one specific price only, that's all we care about. Okay? Any questions in this one?
No.
Okay? Like I said, this one could be done within the first half of the class. So you sure there's no extra questions in regards to any of this? We will visit this once again in the week that you come back from your break. We will be looking at one particular problem, and then I will be posting a study guide for you guys, okay? Now I'm going to tell you this. For this class, when I test you, you are only going to need to know how to do only purchases only. There will be no returns and allowances. There will be no discounts. And pretty much that's it. And no beginning inventory. So I'm only testing you on the very, 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 very basic idea. Do you understand how much to make a purchase of? And are you able to calculate the ending balance from just the purchases that you've made? That's exactly what I'm going to be testing you on. So everything that you've learned, whether it's a purchase returns, a beginning balance, a discount, that is when you go out into the future, when you're looking at a real life scenario, because these things do happen. But for this exam, I obviously, if it takes you about 20 minutes to answer one question, imagine this test is supposed to be 50 questions long. I don't have all day to give you this exam. Well, in this case, I do because it's online. But it's supposed to be on average about 4 hours exam. But I'm not going to time it. I'm going to let it be unlimited time so you can take however long you'd like on the exam. But for this purposes of this class, I generally should just make sure that you understand the general idea. Okay?
Can you please go down to the bottom of your inventory page?
Yes.
I just want to see one thing real quick.
Okay, did you need me to click on a cell or anything?
Oh no, see, actually, I figured it out a completely different way.
Okay.
So what I did was on my sheet, I retyped the way you did it, and I'm sitting here chuckling because I do this with math. I see way different ways on figuring stuff out, but I just wanted to make sure that those numbers were matching mine. So this way I knew I had it correct. So I'm good.
Okay. Yes, like I said, the beauty about accounting is it's just like math. As you can go in many ways in order to solve the question or the equation. No matter how many ways you get to that equation, at the end of the day, you need to get down to one answer. So if you look at it this way, where you're calculating it as you go, good for you. You're calculating it first in, first out. You understand that, at the end of the day, your ending inventory should be whatever you purchased last. Same thing right there, okay? It doesn't matter how many ways you get to the answer as long as you get to the answer. But for this class, I'm not going to explore looking at all the answers. I'm only going to be exploring one way and one way only. Just because I don't physically have the time, and plus I don't want to confuse anybody else on how to solve for this, okay? Some people find it better if they understand one way first before they can explore the other ways, okay? So with that being said, any other questions? This This is the easiest type of inventory costing methods, okay? Because we don't have to keep track of anything. All we care, once again, is about what my total cost is and what my total quantity is.
I do have a comment that might help others in case they run into this.
Okay.
On sheet Q9,
Q9.
yes, if everyone goes to Q9, it'd be a lot easier. You'll understand what I'm saying. Over in the returns, allowances, and discounts,
Mm-hmm.
as I started doing my worksheet, I did the 50 with the $1, and I did the equation,
Mm-hmm.
the formula. So as I went down, I skipped a line because I knew I was going to do a percentage. So I went down to the next line. I put my 50 in with the 175, and did the formula there.
Okay.
So when I went back to the middle one and put my formula in for the percentage, I was getting an error message. And what I figured out last night was that the error message was because there was an inconsistent formula with the other two formulas. So nothing was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I clicked on the ignore error message and
Mm-hmm.
it went away. So I just wanted others to know that if you see an error message and you have multiple different formulas in an area, that you might get that error message and you can ignore it. Your math, just make sure your equations, your formulas and math is right, and ignore it. But I ran into that before and I couldn't understand, and last night I figured it out. So if you get an error message between formulas, it could just be that you have an inconsistent formula and it's really nothing.
Mm. Or you might have fat fingered something.
But that's why I spent 20 minutes going over everything, and that's what I figured out is that's why it came up before in other worksheets. I'm like, why is this coming up? And
Mm-hmm.
that's what it was, is because I had a different formula in between similar formulas, and Excel was just saying, hey, are you sure you want this? So I kind of like that about Excel too. It says, hey, it'll put his hand up and say, hey, is this what you want?
Yeah.
So
So,
I just thought maybe that would help someone.
okay. Definitely. Any way that you can help each other out, by all means. Okay. So, once again, whether you like to use colors or not, if it helps you, utilize it, okay? In this case, we didn't really need to use the colors, but I just did it for you guys to understand where these numbers came from. Just as long as you understand at the end of the day, when we're doing weighted average, this is the only one that you don't necessarily need any colors. All you just need is your total goods available, quantity, and your cost, and you can solve everything from there. Okay? All right, other than that, if you guys don't have any other extra questions, we're going to go ahead and go on a break.
Do you want to do the Q12 real quick before we go on?
That's right. Let's do the Q12 then. Okay. Let's do Q12 real quick. So now, what should our journal look like?
Okay, the date would be 30 November.
Yes, it would be November 30. Mm-hmm.
And would you start with toys beginning balance?
Now remember.
Oh, that's right. Okay. I just corrected myself in my head.
Okay. In this case, ending will always come first, no matter what it is, because we're increasing our inventory, right? We're transferring from the purchase expense bucket into the inventory. So we're increasing the inventory. So ending inventory will always come first. Now, many of you guys, if you guys look at the example, right? Some of it you'll see it will say ending here, right? Now, for your practice purposes only, you can do it. But in the real world, there will be no such thing as a beginning toys account and an ending toys account. It's going to be all one account. Okay? Now, this makes a lot more sense when we dive into the general ledger. Excuse me. When we're constantly purchasing, constantly selling, constantly doing all these things. So, once again, because what I don't want to do is I want you to just get the journal down and then we'll apply everything together. We'll work on in the class project, which allows us to see why we do these and how we use the general ledger to help us compute this. Right now, I just need you to understand what is necessary, and it will all come together towards the end of the class. So in this case, we're only looking at our toys, right? There's no such thing as an ending toys, but if it helps you to remember, you can do it for now because we're in school. We're doing it as a practice purposes only. So if you feel comfortable putting in ending at the end of your toys, go ahead and do that. Okay? What else do you have?
Cost of goods sold.
We have to calculate our cost of goods sold because we don't have those inventory items that we purchased. We sold some along the way. So cost of goods sold. Okay. What else do we have to recognize?
Purchase returns and allowances.
Purchase returns and allowances. Okay. And then we're going to indent, right? Because we're going to dump out our purchase expense box. So what are we going to recognize here? Purchase expense, and what usually comes along with purchase expense?
Right.
Freight expense. Okay. All right. Now either Alan or Felipe, what is also included here?
Your toys.
Which one?
Oh, the beginning balance.
Yes, we had a beginning balance. So this is where you need to indicate that you have your toys, your beginning inventory. So once again, if you're looking at it this way, right? We are starting a brand new period, right? A brand new inventory worksheet. We're going to just carry the inventory from the beginning and put it in as in a separate box. All right? So we're going to combine them all together because at this point we don't care what came first, what came last. We care about combining all of them together. And then we are just going to just pick one from each box and just go ahead and dump them into my toys, dump them into the cost of goods sold, and then dump them into my purchase returns and allowances. Yes, Felipe?
Oh no, my mic was on. I was trying to speak, and I'm like, Alan's killing me here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I turned my mic off because I've been coughing a lot. I'm kind of like you, man. The wind last night's killed my.
Yes, I'm sorry if you guys can hear me like plugged and whatnot. Yes.
Yeah, the wind last night was awesome. Just like stirred everything up for me.
Same here. So let's go back and see what was our ending inventory.
$978.49.
$978.48. What was my total cost of goods sold?
$13.97.
$39.13.97. What was my total? Oh, I think I selected the wrong one. Give me a second real quick. Let me fix this. I'm going to select this number here. And what was my total purchase returns and allowances? $183.50. What was my total original purchase price?
$33.50.
$33.50. Yes, it was. What was my freight expense? 95. And lastly, what was my total beginning balance of my inventory?
1630.96.
16, 30, 96. So once again, let's tally up our totals to see if we have the equal debits equal our equal credits over here. I just said equal 4 times. So there you go. 50,000, sorry, 50, 75, 96 on the left. And I should get 50, 75, 96 on the right. Okay, so yay, I balanced. Woo woo. All right. So once again, we will have time to practice this tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow, actually, we're gonna get started with chapter 6 after this. So we're gonna take a look at another section, and then we'll practice journalizing everything on the following week. You come back.